All right, so we are live. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Roman Epic Productions. I am your host, the lovely Eurydice Roman, aka this is your Spotlight TV show, which we proudly show people who are doing excellent things in the community. And today we're going to talk about someone who's doing exceptionally well.
Hey everybody,
And I'm here with my sunny boy.
I am my mom's assistant.
Mm.
I know you guys are probably asking, why am I my mom's little assistant? Well, you know why, because I have to help her, obviously. And I love to tell jokes. Okay, this is a joke life. I got a joke for you all.
Really quick.
Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side?
Cluck, cluck. So, aside from we're talking about a subject that I live with daily. And my son, as some of you may know, is on the autism spectrum. He also has receptive expressive language. Um, so this person that I'm interviewing today, Dr. Kerry Magro, is somebody who's doing exceptionally well, who's breaking barriers and impressions, and he's doing way too much.
Yep.
Love that he's
You're
doing
right.
it. And I'm just like, it's crazy. So, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay, I love the boards you have behind you.
Yeah, no, I speak full time, and during COVID-19, everything went virtual. So it became a time where my apartment became my place where I would speak. So I would give lectures to Fortune 500 companies, and I need a background. So create a background.
Oh, wow. So, okay, you've published 4 books thus far,
That's
and your fourth book came out in March. What was different this book toward in comparison to the others?
Well, this book, 100% of the proceeds were going back to my nonprofit, KFM Making a Difference. We've provided 130 partial scholarships for autistic students to pursue a post-secondary education. So many of the individuals in this book were scholarship winners who wrote essays on their journeys growing up with autism. So the book is called Autistics on Autism, and it's focused on stories of individuals on the autism spectrum and what helped them growing up into pursuing their dreams in adulthood today. So it features 100 stories. It's the first book that I've written where we've gotten multiple perspectives. The first 3 books were a children's book called I Will Light Up Blue, which was just a narrative, literature narrative, and then the first 2 books just based on my own autism journey and defining autism from the heart and autism and falling in love. So this book was unique in just getting the multiple perspectives because we often say autism is a spectrum. So I was glad we got the opportunity to highlight a few.
Yeah. In terms of what was harder to do in your modest opinion? Was it harder to get the publishing going, writing everything down, and like each book that you've written thus far, how many pages have they been?
So the first 2 books were the first book was about 130 pages. So it was focused on poems and essays that I wrote growing up. So it was really just focused on those quality poems. And then the second book I wrote was a very small book about autism and relationships, in the hopes of helping those with autism pursue romantic relationships and what that specifically looks like. The third and fourth book, the third book was a children's book, so it only ended up being at 30 pages. The fourth book, Autistics on Autism, ended up being about 350 pages just because of all the perspectives that we were getting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So usually how long does it take you to get a book going? Like in terms of okay, is it always like 10 to 15 pages? That's like chapters. And then to get to 350, I'm sure it must have been at least per chapter either 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 pages. Is that always the limit?
Yeah. Well, I speak full time. So it does become very tricky to figure out when I'm going to actually have time to write. So I don't write every day, which authors say you should be writing every day. I typically write chapters 15, 20 pages, but it really does vary just based on the amount of content that I specifically want to highlight for each one of those chapters.
Wow. And to be honest with you, that sounds like it's a lot.
No, I mean,
And
it's
mhm.
when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I've always been a firm believer of that.
Yes,
And
I have. And that's the important part. And that people just fail to like, check in and do that. Um, so your consultant work, you've consulted on 2 television shows. Because see, here's the thing. What I've noticed in terms of consultations, sometimes they'll consult you, they'll take you into consideration when you're giving out your advice about the subject. And sometimes they'll kind of like twist, and you're like, yeah, that's kind of not what I wanted to do. Like, why did you ask me in the first place if it was going to go that far? Has it happened yet?
no, I mean, for the most part, the projects that I've worked on Mrs. Fletcher, which was on HBO, which had a
Hmm.
character who was nonverbal, who was on the autism spectrum, and I was brought on to discuss my own journey, being non-speaking for the first 2.5 years of my life, and
Mm.
being able to bring those experiences. I've never had anyone who, up to this point, who has kind of not been upfront about their intentions of wanting to be involved. And then just Love on the Spectrum as well, which got 3 Primetime Emmys. It's on Netflix currently. Thank you. Uh,
Yes, yes.
and it's we're gearing up for the next season, so that'll be exciting.
Because I know it's divided into. Is it divided into a U.S. edition and an overseas edition, or is it just?
Yeah. So it started out in Australia.
All
Uh,
right. Okay. I
and
remember.
they had 2 seasons in Australia before the first U.S. season came out on, I believe, May 8th of 2022.
Right. Right. Wow. Yeah, I remember seeing the American version versus the Australian version, and I was just like, love is hard to find either way. It's like the battle is still the same. It doesn't matter the country. There's still, there's challenges and there's, things to do, and it's just tough. Um, it was great. I really felt my heart went out to the people on the show. So
Oh
I
yeah,
believe, it was well casted in terms of like finding genuine people that you feel like you could connect with. Because a
yeah.
lot of neurotypicals, if I don't feel like I can connect with you, then it's kind of like meh. I care this much, maybe half invested. I'll tune in for like 10 minutes and then said I watched the highlight reel. And you're like, whoa, that's
Well,
so
it's
not.
definitely not The Bachelor. That's why I have to tell people
Oh my god, yes, that's a horrible show.
it. It was kind of just a very nice change of pace from reality TV dating shows, where this show seemed just so authentic. And I mean, granted, I mean, as my work as a public speaker, speaking in so many schools and with companies, there's always 1 or 2 neurodiverse individuals who are part of that. And all, for the most part, most of them are the most authentic people I've ever met in my entire life. So when people watch Love on the Spectrum, I truly hope they get a breath of fresh air from the typical reality TV, and they actually see authenticity and genuine people who really are just searching for love and relationships. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah. So, when did before the show started, when did they decide to like bring you in for consultation? Was it an immediate thing? It's like, oh, we know the perfect person. He's right. Let's give him a call, see if he says yes, no, or in between, or maybe not.
Yeah. So Originally, I was helping them with their Australia seasons. I was just helping with outreach because they were thinking about coming to the U.S. So I was putting out some feelers in terms of casting. So I have a large social media following. We have about 215,000 Facebook followers. So we
Wow.
have people who follow us from across the country, from parents to teachers to therapists to self advocates. So I
Mhm.
helped them with a little bit of outreach. I stayed in touch with them. I even thought about being on the show for a little bit, and then I was like, if you're doing this U.S. season, let's talk and see how we might be able to collaborate. So. Being the consultant, getting to do a training for the casting crew on, or the crew more specifically on just being uh, just accepting of those with autism and understanding and giving them some best practices was really beneficial. And then just helping through the entire editing process of season one.
No, yeah. I haven't worked with adults, um, but a break is always necessary for everyone because sometimes, especially in documentary filmmaking, sometimes you could exhaust your subject and you have to learn how to just be like, you have to let the person like take a pause, even if it's 10, 15 minutes, an hour before they continue on. And I saw there were moments that I was just like, oh my gosh, I felt sorry for the crew because I was like, yeah, this person's having, a meltdown or a breakdown. You need to like, and sometimes even the littlest interaction can be intense. Like with my son, sometimes I'm like, listen, it's he was diagnosed at the age of 18 months. And from there we continued on. And there's things that I'm just like, I'm not I'm not having that. I'm not breaking down yet. But he's like, no, I need a moment. Love you, mom. But I'm like, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, for 18 months, I mean, that's wonderful because that's the earliest you can get a formal diagnosis of autism as well. I was not diagnosed until 4, but that
Yeah,
was simply because the numbers of autism back then were 1 in every 1,000 being diagnosed in the United States.
exactly.
Now it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
4. So,
No, and I think honestly, I'm happier that within the last, I like to say, 20 years, it has gotten a little better in terms of the rate of diagnosis, and there's more resources being developed. They're not totally there. And let's not lie, they're not totally completely there, but it
they're
seems
on
like
their way.
they're on their way.
Yeah.
Not to, take off anything from anyone who is making strides and bounds and leaps to really try to help out the community and things like that. So, for your scholarship program that you're doing, how is that working out in terms of that? Is it how many applications do you get for it?
So we've gotten 275 applications since we started the scholarship program in 2013, and we get so many amazing individuals who reach out to us and wanting to apply. We started out just giving one scholarship out every year, and now I mean, our last scholarship we gave out like 20 scholarships in
Mm,
1 year. So we've just had so many people who have watched our TV interviews and who have followed
mhm,
us on social media, who have been very generous with
mm,
their gifts and donations to support our 501c3 KFM Making a Difference, to help
mhm,
us continue to do our initiatives like our Making a Difference
mhm,
for Autism scholarship program. So now we give it out every spring. So our current, actually, spring 2023 scholarship application is now currently available, and people can check that out at kfmmakingadifference.org.
um for the scholarships, is do you encourage to because sometimes, for me as a parent, they've told me, I had a phone call like, oh, your son is 12. I said, okay, sure, let's go with that. Okay, what are your plans for him? I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not the grand architect here. I'm not like writing down, what are my hopes, dreams, aspirations, and stuff like that. And I've made it my thing to let my son be himself and figure out your own path. I can guide you if you want me to guide you, but I can't. You can't. You could take the horse to drink water, but you can't force the horse to drink the water.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
the most important thing that I tell people is that, it's not a race, it's a marathon, especially in our autism community. We have to take it a day at a time, but we also need to focus on what the future is going to look like. And for those who are going to need 24/7 care, I think it's important that we also understand that we do have to take the reins depending on who is on the spectrum. I mean, your son, I don't like using functioning labels, but your son, I would probably classify it's like level 1 autism,
right.
which is less substantial support needs versus somebody with level 2 or level 3. So it really just varies in our community for sure. So we have to just teach the way and parent the way that our kids learn and develop over time.
Very true. I just need a little bit of water. Sorry. Oh, it's been crazy lately. Whew.
Thank God for editing.
What happened?
I said, thank God for editing.
Yes, of course, of course, of course. So I'm definitely editing this for sure. But in terms of everything, also you said level 1. Explain to me how the levels would break down. Like level 1 would be what?
Yeah, level 1 would be an individual, bless you, who has less substantial support needs. Level 2 would be moderate, and
Right.
level 3 would be those individuals who might need that 24/7 care, who might need assisted living someday, who really basic needs need to be taken care of for them versus something they can do independently for themselves.
Right, right, right. And that's the thing, like with him, like he needs to be, as you see, he needs to be redirected. He needs to be also, how do I put it? He kind of needs to be prodded to do things. He needs to be coached. So, and it's hard because the thing is that, um, if people, if organizations and people don't believe you need support, they kind of won't be like jumping to offer it to you. You really have to be like, I have to push myself as a mother and as an advocate. Like, no, 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 no. Yeah, I know the service is for more severe, but he needs at least a quarter of what the service is in order for him to like go forward.
Yeah,
And yeah,
great.
there's that. And it's not easy. So when you started your own personal journey, you were 4 years old? Wow. And well, we're not gonna reveal age and numbers here. So you're
I'm
saying at the
34.
time it's how much?
34. It's fine.
Oh, oh my God. I remember when I was 34. That was 6 years ago. I feel old. It's okay. It's all
Me
right.
too. It's okay.
It's fine. Um, I like to say in terms of that, did you ever feel any kind of frustration towards, the situation at hand?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you, especially early on when I was dealing with, I didn't start speaking complete sentences till I was 7. And when you can't communicate with the people you care about the most in this world about even some of your basic needs, it got really, really tough, especially for me. I would lash out. I would try to be aggressive because I
Right.
really couldn't communicate my basic needs to my family. So I dealt with a lot of emotional struggles growing up, in addition to sensory processing challenges growing up in Jersey City, New Jersey, big city, having
Mm.
a lot of challenges with a lot of different sensory stimuli, always being hypersensitive to things like bright lights and loud noises. I mean, that can be challenging for anyone, but you add an autism diagnosis and it feels like it's dialed up to 11 in many
Oh
instances.
my
So,
God.
but thankfully, I received 15 years of occupational, physical, speech, music, and theater therapy, and that's where
Mhm.
what got me to my graduation from high school, my college degree, my master's degree in strategic communications to go into a career in public speaking, and then my doctorate 3 years ago in education, so I could hopefully teach at the college level someday while continuing my full-time job in public speaking.
So, for those of you who don't think there's a success story, there is, because America's built upon it. Everybody's like, "Oh no, 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 no." If you want something, if you want to go for it, you have to be tenacious. You have to be determined. You really have to push yourself forward and try to do it. No, I'm not trying to be toxically positive here, but
it takes a village, too. It takes a village. It takes
does. It
around
does.
that at the same time.
No, absolutely. Like, and it's, to be honest with you, um, as the parent, it's sometimes, being I have my own ADHD diagnosis. When I first got it, it was just kind of like in a slew of. It just felt like I was stuck in, like, the bouncy ball, and then you're in the center and it rolls and you look like a hamster in a ball. That's what I felt like. I was like, I was just rolling along in the ball, and it was just like a lot of things were coming to attack me, but then I had this like safe, cushy ball to protect me, somewhat, give or take. I know it's a weird metaphor, but nonetheless, it's there. Um, that, and then when I found out about my son's diagnosis, it was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? No, really, I was just like, what am I gonna do? It's like,
Yeah, and your feelings are valid, and also, I mean, that's how my parents felt that way when I was initially diagnosed. So it's important that we have these conversations, and also just be mindful of that. So some people may not necessarily want to talk about that diagnosis right away when it actually comes out, and that sometimes it is going to take some time for individuals to feel comfortable sharing those specific diagnoses, because we're all on our own journeys, just trying to figure out life and figure out our own way of just dealing with different things going on.
no, absolutely. When you started the nonprofit started. You started in 2013 or 2012?
So the paperwork took me about 18 months. So I started in 2011, but it didn't
Mhm.
become a 501c3 until May of 2013.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, Jesus, I know. Applying for a 501c3, it's just like, I'm like, anything else? Would you like, would you like a hair sample to prove that I'm trying to do something creditable and valuable, and people really could use what I am trying to provide? Like, come on, man. Work with me, please. I beg you. But so how many components are there within the nonprofit that you have currently?
Components, I mean, the biggest three areas that we really focus on are grant opportunities for employment for those
Correct.
with disabilities. Then we
Hmm.
focus on the post-secondary, so we focus on the college aspect. And
Yeah.
then we just focus on general advocacy, which has gone from many different things, such as grassroots movements, such as, for example, we were just advocating yesterday because the Judge Ronberg Center in Massachusetts
Yes, I was seeing that. That's, oh my
still
God.
allows electric shock devices on autistic people and developmental disabilities. So urging Congress to put a ban on this before the end of the year because of the
Mhm.
inhumane and barbaric situation it puts so many individuals in, when we do know there's positive behavioral supports that could take its place. So we've done a lot in terms of the advocacy movement, and really just making sure that people are understanding and educated about a wide range of disabilities. Those are the three main components of my nonprofit. And I'm just so glad when we get people who in our community just give back to support, especially during the holiday season with inflation. It feels like a lot of the times we're money pinching in many different ways, and we're just so grateful when people just give what they can to support the cause. Because I'm a one-man ran organization. I do this as just a very side job. I don't take a salary to give back to the disability community while I continue my full work as a public speaker.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for doing that. I'm certainly sure it's not easy. So, so in terms of the scholarships themselves, this year you expanded to 180?
130.
Oh, 130. Why did I think it was 80? I'm so sorry. So 130 students from various from 18 and up, 17, 16. Until what age did you cover?
Well, typically it's just we get a lot of incoming college freshmen who apply for a scholarship, but mainly the scholarship is open to anyone pursuing a post-secondary education in the next academic year. So we do end up getting a lot of incoming college freshmen, but we also get master's students, doctoral students who reach out not only in the U.S. but internationally as well.
Oh, nice. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. So then at no point you're going to divide it into the high school category and the college category, or you're just going to keep it?
We may at some point, depending on the people who watch our content and support our initiatives, that we can continue to build and do more. I mean, we want to definitely do a grant for educators because so many educators pay out of pocket for even just resources for their own specific classrooms, but then also non-speaking individuals and individuals who are not going to be able to pursue post-secondary education. We really want to focus on the spectrum of autism and those who are involved with our kids.
Sure. So is there an aspect that you'd consider about vocational training, or maybe like joining forces with vocational training?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've definitely discussed. I mean, we have also gotten scholarship applicants who have wanted to pursue trade schools. So we definitely see a significant benefit because, again, also in high school and just the transition years, vocational training can be really beneficial towards helping individuals with their own independence, especially on the autism spectrum, but just for anybody too.
No, yeah, and honestly, it's really startling if you look up autism employment numbers. It's pretty sad. It's like, wow, and it just feels like after you turn 21 and you're not able to get like employment going, it just feels like you fall through the cracks. And
yeah. The majority of individuals in the U.S. who are on the autism spectrum are unemployed or underemployed, while we have the lowest unemployment rate in the past 40 years in the United States, where they're just being hovering around 3%. So those are staggering numbers, especially because there's so many individuals who I mentor and do life coaching for as a certified life coach. I see so many individuals who can't even get through the interview process because of just some of their social limitations. But if given the opportunity to do things like a one-day job trial where they actually get to show what they're capable of doing, most of the time they're able to succeed when doing that. So
yeah, and like I said, it's pretty awesome that the nonprofit is working out, writing books. Okay, as a public speaker, when did you start doing it? Like what age specifically, and like what drew you to public speaking?
I realized that there was a lack of education around those with disabilities overall. I went from a high school where there were only 160 kids to college, Seton Hall University, where there were 5,500 undergraduates. And I thought to myself during that process, wow, there are a few kids on our campus who have disabilities, and I feel like there's nothing being done for them, especially from an advocacy perspective. Obviously, there are supports, but what are we doing to build awareness overall? So I decided to change career paths. I was majoring in sport management. I was wanting to be the next Larry Bird. I wanted to go into the NBA. I wanted to do something in broadcasting. I wanted to do something in sport marketing. But I realized that by using my voice and sharing my story, but also sharing expert advice from the key experts and advocates in our community, I could hopefully make a difference and to provide more understanding and acceptance for the disability community. So I graduated in 4 years, and then I was looking up how to go into public speaking, received a scholarship for my master's in strategic communications with a specialty in public speaking, so I could do it as a full-time career. And I've been certified in public speaking for 11 years now. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, okay, in terms of if you had to rate public speaking spaces, which has been a good experience, which has been a so-so experience, and which one has been maybe next time I might not want to come here.
That's a great question. I've never been asked that question before. Uh, TD Bank just comes to mind. TD Bank were phenomenal and supportive, and we did a talk with them virtually
Okay.
for Autism Acceptance Month as a professional development for their employees on the ROI benefits of hiring autistic people in the workplace. And it was just so well received. It was well prepared, and everything just went really, really well. Uh,
Okay.
most companies that we've spoken to who actually offer professional development around neurodiversity all seem very accommodating overall, because they not only the fact that they're actually doing something with their employee resource group or their diversity, equity, inclusion team to really focus on this issue in our community, but they just seem more accommodating overall.
Well,
Uh,
that's good.
in terms of lowest, it's hard to say. There are just some people who come into the community who have a little bit of ignorance, who don't necessarily have that awareness. It's really hard to kind of pinpoint just one. But once people get into this community, I feel like they are able to host some really spectacular events, and I've just had the wonderful opportunity to be part of just a few of those.
And that's awesome to be. Well, hey, at least you were nice about it. There's some people like, no, I wouldn't know. Because, of course, anger takes over, and some of us forget that the filter is on. And it's like, the world is a very small place. You don't know who knows whom. So, this is why it's not good to speak, ill of anyone, honestly.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so out of all the work that you've done, for your modest opinion, um, which has been the most daunting?
I definitely think daunting it goes back to the nonprofit, simply
Mhm.
because sometimes it's challenging for people to uh, really just support the cause. I feel like initiatives like Giving Tuesday, for example, which is an annual day of giving, we did really well this year in terms of people who wanted to give back, but also at the same time, we we know there's some people in the community who can give back but decide not to, and that becomes really, really challenging when people
Mhm.
can make a donation on our website, kfmmmakeadifference.org, for like $5 as the minimum. And I always go back to this quote from I think it's uh, Margaret Mead, who said that don't think that a small group of people couldn't change the world, just starting off with just a few small people. I'm hacking the quote, but it's so true. That's how movements are started, just by a few people just supporting a cause, and then it just turning into something where we could support the entire autism and disability community. So I think in terms of daunting, that's the nonprofit for sure. Just finding people who just want to support a charitable cause, especially during the holiday seasons.
No, yeah, and it's hard. Even when it's Autism Awareness Month, like I actually had a fun time trying to get people to come to a comedy show that was in support of the American Autism Association, and it was just like, come to the show. And I even had at one point just had people just buy a ticket but not show up. I'm like, okay, that's nice. I appreciate that you bought the ticket. And I just was like, okay, you know what? You didn't show up. I'm just going to take the money that you pay for your ticket and I'll donate on your behalf. So I'm looking to do maybe someday in the future. I don't know if it's best to do a 501c3 or if it's best to do an LLC or LLP. I got to talk to somebody about that and we'll see how that goes from there. I'm actually trying to plan maybe sometime for next year. Definitely like autism teen game night. So I would do like board games and like video games because, especially here in the city and also in the tri state area in New Jersey and Connecticut, there are spaces, but they're not safe spaces. You know what I mean? Especially for people on the spectrum. Like you have to be mindful if it's too much stimulation, it's not enough stimulation. And I would probably create like, I would have the game night going, but I would have to have it in a space where if someone needs to kind of, take a pause, they can.
Yeah, I work with a continuing education group right now called IVCCES, who go about certified autism centers where they focus primarily on sensory considerations in
Mhm.
different travel locations. So it makes a ton of sense. I totally get what you're going towards, and I think it's important. So keep up the great work.
I'm trying. So I want to show everybody your page. So let's see how this is going to go in order to give people an idea of the fantabulous work that you do. And here we go. And let's see. So this is actually Dr. Kerry Magro's page. As you can see here, I'm gonna I'm gonna do my best to really read the loveliness that you have posted here. Award-winning professional speaker, best-selling author, anti-bullying speaker to support students. You can purchase products, book to speak to me, and view my blog. Continue to full sight. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm not a professional voice actor, nor do I aspire to be one either. So, wow, but dang, I'm actually kind of speechless. I am incredibly humbled that you said yes to being on the show. And for anything and everything, everybody, as you can see, he has this. You could even do a simple Google search and you will find Dr. Kerry Macro. So, any comments, questions, concerns in terms of, helping out the kiddos to start their journey out? Don't hesitate to ask. Right? Is it safe to say that, or?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yes, thank you so much to everybody who was watching this. It is so appreciated. And just in case, and let me just say the following: life is what you make it, and remember to create. Sometimes the best supports are the ones that you push to get for yourself, and don't give up. There's a lot of things in the world that's worth going for, worth doing. You just have to find what speaks to you and what you can do to press on and push forward. I know I sound like a terrible PSA. I know.
No, it's good stuff though.
Yeah. And I don't know. This has been great. I'm as a parent, thank you so much. You are practically inspiration and to keep going forward. That my child doesn't have to get to the level of everything that you've done, but he can with the proper supports and the proper encouragement and trying to go forward. So that for me is redeeming and it's very affirming. Like, you can do this. We can do this. We just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Don't give up on the halfway mark.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to impart?
Uh, I just tell everyone I'm always willing to discuss collaborations. On my website, I talk a lot about just autism can't define me, I define autism. So I work with not only students, but therapists and educators and people in our workplaces about helping them define their lives and their journeys in the way that they best see it every single day. So feel free, drop me a line at kerrymagro.com. Let's talk about how we can do something at your schools. Let's definitely talk about how we could work as part of your staff development during the summer months, during your breaks, during the academic year. Let's talk about how we could go into your workplaces and provide professional development opportunities to discuss these topics like neurodiversity in the workplace. Because if you don't know somebody in your workplace who has autism yet, you're going to in the future. 5.4 million adults are on the autism spectrum in the United States today. So we definitely need to discuss that topic. And
Factual sense.
yeah, every avenue is open to collaboration. We just need people to speak up. And honestly, the parents that I work with, just they reach out to their companies, they reach out to their schools, and next thing we know, we're hosting an event in 2 months after that. So you have the opportunity to provide valuable education and understanding in your communities.
That's right. And thank you for your time. And thank you, everybody, for watching. This is your Spotlight TV show with me, Eurydice Roman. And thank you to my guest, Dr. Kerry Magro. Wait, educate. Wait, is it EDD? How do you want me to go by it?
EDD.
ED. He worked for that doctor, folks. He got that. He worked tirelessly. I just have a bachelor's, and to be honest with you, I have been like, do I really want to go back and get my master's? Like, seeing you do it, I'm just like, you know what? I should be ashamed of myself, but you know what? I can push forward. I can do it. So thank you so much, and have a great one. And this interview will be shown. Oh, I'll email you the exact air date of this. So we'll do that.
Yeah, let me know, because we'll definitely cross promote in some way, whether it's our social media stories or
right.
What channel is public access?
So here in New York, for Manhattan, it's channel 68. For the Bronx, the Bronx is channel 68. And on FiOS, it's 2134.
Okay.
And then for Manhattan, it's channel 56. And also on Spectrum, it's 1993 is the other channel. But also it's available online.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, because I'll get that information out too. Cool. Awesome. So nice to meet you. So
thank you so much for your time.
Anytime.
So much appreciated. Be well. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.